Once upon a time, in a remote cabin deep in the woods, there lived a family of three: John, his wife Sarah, and their little daughter Lucy. They had moved there to escape the hustle and bustle of the city and enjoy a peaceful life surrounded by nature. One cold winter night, as they sat by the fireplace, John noticed an eerie feeling creeping up on him. He tried to shake it off, but the feeling only grew stronger. Suddenly, he heard a faint whisper in his ear that sent chills down his spine. It was a voice he had never heard before, deep and menacing, and it seemed to be coming from within the fireplace. John's wife and daughter had also heard the voice, and they were just as frightened as he was. They huddled together, hoping that the voice would go away. But it didn't. It grew louder and more insistent, until they could make out the words it was saying. "Come to me, my children," the voice said. "Come and join me by the fire." John knew that they had to get out of the cabin as soon as possible. He grabbed his family by the hand and led them towards the door. But when they tried to open it, they found that it was stuck, as if something were holding it closed from the other side. The family was trapped. They looked back at the fireplace, and to their horror, they saw two red eyes staring back at them from within the flames. The eyes grew larger and larger, until they filled the entire fireplace. Suddenly, the flames leapt out of the fireplace and engulfed the family. They screamed and cried, but there was no escaping the flames. John felt as if he were being pulled towards the fire, as if he were being dragged to hell itself. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the fire died down. The family was left standing in the middle of the cabin, surrounded by smoke and ashes. They looked at each other, trying to make sense of what had just happened. But they knew, deep down, that they had just come face to face with the devil himself. And they knew that they would never be safe in that cabin again. As the family stood there in shock, they tried to rationalize what had just happened. They wondered if it was just a trick of their imagination, or if they were truly in danger. They decided that they needed to leave the cabin and seek help from the outside. However, when they tried to exit the cabin, they found that all the doors and windows were sealed shut. It was as if they were trapped inside, with no way to escape. As the night wore on, the family tried to find a way out. They searched every inch of the cabin, but to no avail. They were hungry, cold, and terrified. John tried to call for help, but there was no signal on his phone. They were completely cut off from the outside world. As the hours turned into days, the family grew increasingly paranoid. They heard strange noises in the walls and felt as though they were being watched. They could feel a sinister presence lurking in the shadows, waiting for them. John knew that they needed to come up with a plan. He suggested that they try to make a run for it, even if it meant braving the harsh winter weather outside. But Sarah argued that they needed to stay put and wait for help. Lucy, their daughter, was terrified. She couldn't sleep at night, afraid that the devil would come back for them. John and Sarah tried to comfort her, telling her that they would protect her no matter what. One night, as they sat huddled together by the fireplace, they heard a faint scratching sound coming from the chimney. Lucy screamed, and John grabbed a nearby poker to defend his family. Suddenly, A hand reached out from the fireplace and grabbed John's wrist. He tried to pull away, but the grip was too strong. The hand pulled him towards the fire, and John felt as if he were being dragged into hell itself. Sarah and Lucy watched in horror as John was consumed by the flames. They were left alone in the cabin, with no hope of escape. Days turned into weeks, and the family's fate remained unknown. Some say that the devil still haunts the cabin, waiting for unsuspecting victims to fall into his trap. Others say that the family's spirits still linger, trapped inside to suffer in the afterlife. No one knows for sure what happened to the family, but one thing is certain: the cabin remains a place of terror and dread. Locals avoid it at all costs, and those who do venture inside never return. The legend of the devil's nearby fireplace has become a cautionary tale, warning others to never underestimate the power of evil. For it is said that once the devil has set his sights on you, there is no escape.